Hi guys, this is HD, and welcome. I'm bringing you guys the Grand Finals broadcast from GameCom Plantronics, and it is my pleasure to be able to bring this to you guys. For those of you guys who may not know, GameCom Plantronics is an organization that similarly set up a tournament in North America, and they followed up, after I casted that, with a tournament in Europe, the GameCom Plantronics Euro Tournament, which I'm sure that many of you guys are aware of, or perhaps even took a part in. And the tournament now is nearing its conclusion. This is actually SemiFinal A. I will be casting SemiFinal A and SemiFinal B, as well as the Grand Finals. So this is it, guys. It's going to be a best of 5 all the way through. Hope you guys all are supporting here and tuning in to support, and not only esports, but also, of course, GameCom Plantronics. So if you guys get a chance, visit their website, try to purchase a headset. They have great gear. And if you guys also get a chance, of course, make some noise for the players who are playing today. It's going to be Satiini and Sjow. Now, once again, as I said before, this is a live broadcast, and this is going up, I believe, on Friday or Saturday. So props to you guys who are tuned in live right now. Definitely always enjoy live casting. And if you guys missed this, then this will be up on my YouTube channel. So I hope you guys all check it out there in case you guys want to see any of the highlights. Anyways, getting down to the nitty-gritty, guys, we are on GSL Belshire Beach. This is the winterized version of Belshire Beach, and rumor has it, I actually heard this from a friend, that, of course, this winter tile set isn't available in the normal map editor, as far as I know. So Blizzard actually gave Greetech or GomTV the rights to use the winter tile set, as it is coming out in Heart of the Swarm, and they went ahead and redesigned Belshire Beach just for a little bit more of aesthetic pleasure. And of course, this is the revised version of Belshire Beach. The ramp between the main and the natural no longer exists. That used to be a high ground to low ground. That's gone. Also, no destructible rocks, no gold expansion in the middle either. And they also enlarged the main. So all things that help out, I think, Terran and Protoss a little bit more, especially against Zerg, as this was primarily a Zerg-favored map when it first came out in its original iteration. And I guess I should go ahead and talk about the players here. We do have Sjow coming out here at the top left-hand corner. Of course, he is from Team Dignitas. And like I said before, this is the GameCom Plantronics Euro Tournament. So you would imagine that a lot of the players here are going to be European. And you'd be right. So we do have Sjow at the top left-hand corner, once again, representing Dignitas. Formerly a professional 2v2 Warcraft 3 player. The name of his teammate escapes my brain, but he was a very accomplished WC3 player and has always been around since the StarCraft 2 beta. Pretty good player. And of course, down to the bottom right, his opponent is Satiini. And I actually haven't seen too many games of Satiini, but I did a little bit of research, and he is also a former Warcraft 3 pro. Very distinguished Warcraft 3 player, but interestingly, his accomplishments never really reached the limelight simply because he had a fear of flying. I can actually kind of relate with that. I have a terrible fear of flying. When I go out for MLG or I go out for live events, I just hate flying. Flying is scary. It's very scary. So I can definitely relate with that, but apparently now it is cured, and he has gotten rid of his fear of flying. So no more aerophobia for him, which is good for him, and he'll be able to continue to compete. As in 2011, Satiini has been doing a spectacular job. That wasn't too spectacular, losing that Reaper. By the way, guys, I'll bring up the scoreboard since it is a mirror matchup. I typically like to leave the scoreboard out of things because I feel like it blocks stuff a little bit. But in mirror matchups, I'll definitely leave it up just to clear any confusion. And let's go ahead and see what happens here. It looks like Satiini is going for that very quick expansion after the fact. And there is a Reaper now at the front for Sjow, and he's going to be able to scout that CC down. Both players actually going for a very fast command center. That Reaper did kill off one SCV, and it will not make its way into the main. The nice thing about this map, when it was revised here, is it made it much more difficult for Reapers also to make their way in from that natural location. You know, if you block that off and you remove the ramp, essentially it's much easier, in my opinion, for Terran players to kind of wall that off with the building and then expand downwards. On top of that, they also made it so this ramp right here can be walled off with 3 big buildings, like a barracks, a barracks, a barracks. And so that also helps out Terrans quite a bit, as they can go for that expansion very easily. But of course, wall-ins don't really matter that much in a Terran versus Terran, because what are you afraid of in TVT? You know, Hellions are the only thing that you can really be scared of, but neither player really going for Hellions this game. In fact, there is a Banshee on the way, as Sjow decided to go for a pretty quick starport here. Let me see where that starport is. No, actually, excuse me guys, Satiini is the one who went for a very quick starport, so I do apologize. He decided to take to the skies, and he will be going for a fast Banshee. Now, the Banshee in Terran versus Terran, it's an interesting unit. You can definitely get in there and do a lot of damage, and there's a couple of ways you can do that damage. A, of course, by just the normal, standard, conventional way, which is killing SCVs. But secondly, if you have Cloak, you also force your opponent to drop comsats, and every time he drops a comsat, that is 270 minerals essentially wasted. Somebody did that calculation and figured out a meal returns 270 over its lifespan. So, of course, the command center taking 50 energy to do a comsat, as well as 50 energy to do a meal. And here comes Satiini's Banshee, so let's see how much blood is drawn from essentially the first main unit in this game, as the Banshee is making its way in behind the natural of Sjow. There are Marines there, though, and that is actually plenty of Marines, with 6 in tow, as well as energy well more than saved up on that command center. So I don't think this Banshee is going to be able to do much damage at all, and honestly, that's something about the Banshee as well. In TVT, if you're going to go for it, you kind of have to do some damage. It's nice to mix in the mid to late game to have a couple of Banshees here or there, but I feel like it's much better against a Protoss than it is against Terran, because Terran naturally have so many Marines on the ground usually anyways. So Satiini is going to have to make sure he gets his money's worth out of it, which so far I don't think he has. At the very least, he will be able to retain the Xel'Naga towers in the middle, which also have been retained from the original Belshir Beach, of course. And those 2 Xel'Naga towers right now are being occupied. One thing I definitely miss, of course, guys, about the new Belshir Beach, the winterized version, is the lakes in the middle of the map. This has always been a map that has featured new tile sets, but I guess it makes sense since it is winter now. The lake would freeze over. And here comes some Marines from Sjow coming down to the south, and they will ward away that couple of pair of Marines at the Xel'Naga tower. Now the Banshee trying to get its money's worth, trying to show that it was worth the cost, and it did pick up a couple more Marine kills for a total of 3, but nothing too serious right now, as Sjow has quite a few Marines. Let's take a look on that Marine count. 33 Marines right here. So Sjow is going for that Terran versus Terran style where you really mass a lot of Marines, but he is not foregoing the upgrades. He did get stim and combat shields first, so he's really got a nice well-rounded army here with stim, combat shields, and pretty much Marines and a few medevacs. A very, very powerful army, and the thing here for Sjow is, since he's not got any tanks yet, although he does have a factory producing one, he's going to have to use the mobility his Marines have to outmaneuver his opponent, who is going for tanks first. Sjow actually is going to have siege mode coming up fairly soon as well. And there is a Banshee right here, the same one, trying to find an opening, but it will not be able to get in there and do any damage, as a squad of Marines was brought back to get into defensive positions. Now Satiini has quite a few siege tanks. Like I said before, Satiini went for the tanks first. Sjow decided to get the tanks a little bit later. His siege mode is a lot later. So as long as Satiini is well set up defensively, I don't think these Marines are going to be able to do that much damage. Even with Sjow's ability to paratroop them into the main, simply because Satiini can get those tanks, you know, the area to cover from the natural to the main of this map pretty easy. So those tanks should have no trouble dealing with those Marines. And right now, Satiini, feeling pretty comfortable here, is actually going to make a push out. Oh, that's a mistake by Sjow. He runs in a squad of Marines right into the firing line of those siege tanks. Nom nom nom, and those tanks just ate those Marines for breakfast. That was yummy. And Sjow now trying to get a little bit back. Trying to get a little bit of his supper back. Not going to happen, though. There's just too many tanks for Satiini, and Satiini's looking really good right here, guys. I really like how he went for the quicker tanks, and that is, I feel like it's just going to be able to blast the way through these Marines of Sjow. And here comes Satiini. He knows he's got the arsenal advantage. He's going to siege up. He kills off that tank, and that's the problem with siege tanks. They're so slow. They're so immobile. If you retreat with your Marines, you've got to save the tank, and if you don't, well, that's what's going to happen. Satiini picks it off. He controls his Xel'Naga tower now. And this Belshir Beach has always placed a lot of emphasis on Xel'Naga tower control, in my opinion. I mean, if you think about it, There are a lot of attack pads, don't get me wrong, there's actually 4 total, but these Xel'Naga towers provide so much vision through pretty much 50% of the map, so it's very important to control them, and these bridges are pretty narrow in comparison to the rest of the map, so it's very important in TVT to get your tanks established at that location, and we'll see if Satiini can do it. He is actually going to press all the way in here. Sjow at 0-1, Satiini at 1-1. Satiini's got the upgrade advantage and the tank advantage. Oh, look at the Marines, all their gear, all their helmets, their Gauss rifles just blasting down to the ground. That was terrible for Sjow, and Sjow may have just overinvested into medevacs. I don't think that he needs this many medevacs. It would have been better to get more tanks, and he's got so much minerals saved up now, not focusing on that macro, which is so crucial. Otherwise, he's just going to get overrun by the army, and really his barracks count not that high either. He's only got 3 barracks inside the main. I don't see any additional Raxes, so his production just can't even stand toe-to-toe with Satiini, who's got basically 4 barracks and a couple of reactors as well, so that doubles production per barracks. Quite the devastating force, and Sjow is falling behind in this first game of a best of 5 from GameCom Plantronics, the semi-final. And whoever wins this will go on to play in the grand finals. Love the position on the tanks by Satiini. That planetary fortress cannot mobilize and lift off. Sjow knows it. He's just gonna sack it. Gonna let the planetary go. No, he's gonna repair it with the SCVs while trying to make a counterattack. This could make things a little interesting, guys. He's gonna catch 2 medevacs, and he is actually going to be able to bulldoze his way in here. This may have been a stroke of brilliance. Now, the planetary is still alive, ladies and gentlemen. Satiini has not decided to send in his Marines, and that could be a mistake. Granted, he would lose a couple Marines from the planetary fortress, but at least he would kill it off instantly rather than wasting all this firepower and all this time while his reinforcements are cut off. And Sjow now is cutting off the reinforcements. Love the position. Pulling all the SCVs is Satiini, who knows that he is in a vulnerable spot right now. That's too many Marines for him to handle. And he's still trying to work out this planetary fortress, giving it the business right now, and he is shelling it away, finally focusing the SCVs down. That PF is now in the burning zone, and it will fall. There you go, Satiini. So Satiini picks off the planetary fortress. Well done right there. And Sjow, you know, a nice move. I like what he did. He tried to cut off the reinforcements. He tried to get cute with it. And for a time there, I actually thought he was looking really good, or at least looking better than, you know, than things indicated. But it's still a pretty dire situation. I think he can still get back in this game. He's just got to find an avenue to make an attack happen and do some good damage. He just lost the planetary fortress, though. That's quite a loss to recover from. But the thing here is he did expand earlier than Satiini. That was the 3rd base, and Satiini only has 2, so it's still 2 base versus 2 base. So, well, there is a command center here, so it's about to land down. But essentially right now, 2 base versus 2 base. So Sjow isn't out of it yet. He's just got to max out or hope to get some really well-coordinated strikes against the Terran army. A well-coordinated strike in Terran versus Terran is like hitting the tanks when they're unsieged. It's like hitting the money jackpot. So you do have to have a little bit of luck. That SCV will scout the tanks all unsieged. Is he going to move in right now? This is his opportunity. He could cut off that army before the reinforcements arrive. And he is not going to do it. He did not choose to jump the gun right there, rather playing conservative, and that may end up costing him as the army is now coming from both angles, picks off a tank in the front, picks off a second tank, and now the Marines just flooding in. They'll kill off the rest of those siege tanks. Meanwhile, though, Satiini also doing a drop inside the main. Very, very nice. He will maybe pick off a supply depot. No, he will not, as the SCV rushes to the aid of that depot and repairs it back up to full power. But yeah, Sjow is not playing as well as I thought he would against Satiini in this first game. And you know, we all know, guys, in a best of 5 or in a best of really anything, momentum carries a lot of weight. And this first game for Satiini really is going to prop him up quite well for the rest of this series. I think he just took an outstanding macro game against a very competent Terran player. Yeah, things are looking great for the Teal Terran right now. Let's see what Satiini does. Just, you know, playing conservative, holding down the bridge. Also has a small task force over to the bottom bridge as well. So he's really controlling all avenues. And this bridge is very important, guys, because that is the key access point leading into Satiini's new mining expansion. So he doesn't want to let any forces strike through that avenue or corridor. And here comes Satiini. He is just going to roll in. Wow, he's got so many tanks. Siege is up. Forces orbital command to lift off. All the SCVs going to repair. That isn't even going to work. And now the Marines just gonna go hunting. That's just cruel and unusual punishment. And pretty much all of them going to go down here. Sjow, though, has a pretty massive force of Marines, and once again is gonna try to go for this little roundabout backstab. And we'll see if it works or not. This is a map, Belshire Beach, where you can do these little underhanded attacks, but that southern position is sieged up, and that's going to prove to be a bit of an obstacle for Sjow. Sjow isn't going to care, though. He's going to just rally all of his Marines into the main. He has stemmed up a good majority of them, but he has plenty of medevacs, so he should be able to repair them back up or heal them back up pretty quickly, picking off the production of Satiini. Now Satiini's coming back with his main army. He flanks the siege tanks. Oh, the tanks are all going down, and now it's just Sjow's Marines left to fight against the Marines plus the tanks of Satiini, and I don't think that is a winning proposition for the Red Terran at all. Dignitas Sjow here will probably have the tap out of this first game. Even the SCVs coming to repair and keeping the orbital command alive, so no moral victory there for the Red. And that might just be all she wrote, guys. I don't see Sjow winning this game at this point. But a spectacular first game by Satiini in semifinal A of GameCom Plantronics Europe. And Sjow still has a third base, but it's a little bit off to the side, a little bit in its own little oblique location, and I think that this entire Terran army actually might be privy to it.
Ready for dust off.
Or at least is going to go to the top. So at any moment here, I think Satiini is going to go ahead and go for the juggler, strike the throat, rip out the tendons and the esophagus, and pretty much secure the first W. In fact, he is now going to go ahead and just camp the third location, and sending a Marine over to the right that will die to the planetary fortress. And 2 shots killing it off right there. And now Satiini knows, okay, that's pretty much the last mining base here that's actually usable and functional, so I'm just going to go ahead and siege up at the little corridor, and there's no escape, not for the planetary, not for the SCVs, not for nothing. And we've seen this one before. It's just like deja vu before our eyes. Boom, there it goes. So Sjow now out of money, out of SCVs, out of command centers, and it could just be another rally backstab for him. Tanks rolling in here. This is a very last-ditch attempt. Can you imagine being one of the guys driving this tank, knowing that death is surrounding you from all angles, knowing that your commander has failed you, and now you've been given the death sentence? Oh man, at least they are valorous. So, we'll see. Are they going to charge headlong into the tanks? No, they won't. And Sjow will GG. So there is the first game, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. GameCom Plantronics here, bringing you guys this epic tournament from the Euro. And we will have game number 2 coming up right after this. For those of you guys who are tuned in on the live stream, my thanks again for tuning in. And for those of you guys who are tuned in on YouTube, much love for the support. See you guys in game 2. And this is HD signing out.